So what's in this guide and how's it going to help you? First, you need a strategy and you need to be able to plan your next few months. Should you apply to multiple national fellowships? Sometimes people learn about one or they know somebody who won one and they become very wedded and connected to one national fellowship when that might not be the best strategy for you to win one. It's really disappointing when you see somebody apply to something that they heard about first and they didn't really explore all the other options that could be better suited for their profile as an applicant. Should you apply for easier national fellowships simultaneously? The answer is yes, but I explain how you actually strategize and plan ahead. If you want to win, you have to know the winning characteristics of those who have won any of these national fellowships to which you're applying before you apply. What do these national fellowship winners do before they applied and won? You need to be able to assess your own candidacy objectively, harshly, so that you can figure out what gaps there are and how you might be able to make up for gaps if you have them. You also have to know not everyone has all of the puzzle pieces put together as an applicant, but which fellowships are actually ideal for you as an applicant. You have to learn the details of all of these national fellowship programs in order to know what the best fit program for you might be. The most important part of your application package before you submit your application is your personal statement. How do you craft a narrative that's interesting, that's aspirational, that's not boring, that's engaging? How do you do that effectively? You also get to access winning personal statements and my assessment of them now. I critique and go through my personal statements line by line for you to understand why I wrote what I wrote when I wrote it. You'll also develop an understanding of how a judge or a reader would view my personal statement now, which would help you figure out how to craft your story perfectly. Some programs have you submit a resume. Here I go through in detail exactly what you need to do to share a great resume with any of these programs. You're going to need it anyway for job purposes, for your future, so this is going to be helpful for you regardless. If you want to move on to the interview stages of any of these national fellowships, you have to make sure your online presence is perfect. I also encourage everyone to have a personal site, and I go through in detail what you need to do for that here. Aside from your personal statement, your recommendation is incredibly important. So here I discuss in great detail what you need to do to get a good recommendation. There's a recommendation package. This is the package of materials that you will give to a potential recommender so that when they sit down to make a recommendation for you, you have done everything in your power to make it easy. I go through exactly what you need to do to make your recommender feel good in the moment at which they are writing and putting together your recommendation. Most schools have a fellowship office or a fellowship advisor that helps students throughout this process. You have to understand what their incentives are and whether or not they fully align with yours. I'm here to help you understand what they do and how you can present yourself effectively in the eyes of these fellowship advisors so that they're supporting you fully throughout the process. You have to make sure that the application package itself is as tight and as perfect as it can be. So I go through to tell you and remind you everything you need to do to make sure that your application is perfect. Some fellowship offices require a video interview, so I want to make sure you understand what you need to do to prepare for that because it's slightly different than an in-person interview over an interview weekend. Now, what happens during a high-pressure interview weekend? What can you expect? It's always good for you to know exactly what to expect so that you're not caught by any surprises, so that you go into interview weekend with a positive attitude and some semblance of stability. Now, the majority of people who apply to these programs do not win. What do? What are your next steps? How do you plan beyond this? Now, if you win, how do you take advantage of this amazing opportunity that you're going to have in this upcoming year or two? Winning doesn't necessarily mean your life is set, but these national fellowship programs can set you up for your next steps. How do you take advantage of that? Winning a Rhodes Scholarship, a Schwarzman, a Mitchell, Marshall, Gates, Cambridge, Luce, Fulbright, any of these national fellowships can really be life-changing. The benefits can be absolutely amazing. You can get into more exclusive graduate programs. Your friends will be running institutions as they progress in their careers. You'll be surrounded by really interesting, hardworking, intelligent folks throughout the few years you're abroad. And you get to be abroad where you'll be able to take in a new environment. You'll be able to learn about new cultures. You'll be able to travel in a way you have not before. and most winners really do have a wonderful time while they're abroad. While there's obviously no guarantee, this guide is meant to take all the advice that I've given all of these winning applicants over the last decade and put it in one place so that you'll be able to learn and determine how you can avoid pitfalls and how you can improve your candidacy to win any of these national fellowship programs. If you have any questions, email me here. You can also go to nationalfellowship.com and nationalfellowships.com to learn more about these programs.